Hello, hello. Very dark grey cloud behind me. And the beauty of European petrol stations. You don't have to hold it. You can just leave it and it fills the fuel while you can do other things. I've been driving for 5 hours and 15 minutes. I've done 521 kilometers. Fuel consumption 27 miles to a gallon. And average speed 100 kilometers an hour. That's superb. I mean, you could never get that in the UK with so much traffic. Over here, I'm just cruising along smoothly, no problem whatsoever. When there's traffic, a little bit from time to time, you just overtake and carry on. Very happy. Back to music. Good morning, folks. Now that we're going through roadworks doing 60 kilometers an hour, I thought I should report back. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, early start. Well, I never stopped. I have been driving since 9:30 a.m. yesterday, and it's 6 a.m. today. Well, I had a few stops along the way, but before I completely stopped and took a break, the car was telling me that I had been driving for 11 hours and 30 minutes, and I did over 1,000 kilometers from Stockholm to Germany. So as you know, I left Stockholm on Saturday morning. Now it's Sunday morning, and I went to Denmark, and from Rodby I took a ferry to Puttgarden, and from Puttgarden I just kept driving past Hamburg and close to Bremen, and then I felt really tired and I thought I should take a little break. And at that time, I think it was 1:30 or 2 a.m. So I pulled over in one of the rest stops and fed the dog and watered the dog. I just pushed the seat down and had a little nap. Well, I thought I would lie down for a bit just to rest my neck and my body, and I fell asleep. The good thing about being a small person is you can put the seat down in a Porsche and fall asleep. So yeah, I woke up and then drove a little more. The dog was quite uncomfortable, I think, because he's on the back seat in his bed, but obviously he's used to running around, not being stuck in a little space for hours and hours, even though he's been traveling with me since he was a puppy. But I think that's not their natural way of living, so he gets tired and uncomfortable. So I pushed the seat forward and it makes him feel there's more space, so he's less agitated, and also he can see me from there. As for the Autobahns, it's been a pleasure as always, Germany. Thank you very much. Last night I realized that when I'm driving really fast, I'm really focusing and my nerves and my muscles and everything is too tight. So I was doing 180, 190 kilometers an hour last night, and not all the time, but whenever there was a nice straight stretch. And there were people overtaking me even still, so the Germans are really crazy when it comes to driving fast. But at night you can see the lights from a distance, you can see how much the traffic is flowing and if cars are stopping. The visibility, even though it's dark, it's better because one, there's less traffic. So in the end I realized that my sweet spot is 165 kilometers an hour, where I don't feel tired and I don't feel exhausted even if I drive for a few hundred miles like that, because I'm not holding on to the steering wheel and stiff overall. I guess I don't have the nerves of steel that most Germans have. So I did that, and then this morning I've been doing 130 because I'm trying to enjoy the drive and not go too fast. Plus there's some roadworks from time to time, and 130 is reasonably fast. It's comfortable, and yeah, so maybe I'm getting old. I'm fine not going 200 kilometers an hour and going crazy like I used to. And yeah, I actually don't think I've pushed this car to its limit. I think I went up to 230 and then slowed down, but I didn't really feel the urge to do that. The Audi, I pushed it to, I think, 288 in one of my videos on the Autobahns, and that was fun. But the Audi is a much bigger car and feels more planted. Porsche, smaller car, you feel the speed more than you do in the Audi. Oh, and I thought I should also report back on the performance of this car. So I have to say, I love it. I had such a good time, and it's so nice to be back in a Porsche again after a couple of years of a break. There's something about German cars that no other brand does so well, and I don't know what it is, because it just feels so stiff and tight, and everything feels connected. So driving on mountain roads, motorways, just casually cruising along right now. The other thing I noticed is the wet mode is not just a gimmick. Every time it rains, one, that it prompts you, of course, the sensors pick up the water from the wheel arches, which is fine, that is nothing fancy. But the way it handles, the suspension becomes softer, and the car just becomes really smooth. It doesn't do any kind of jerky movements that could make you lose traction. So it was raining very, very heavily in parts, and I had to use the wet mode, but it was really good. I could feel the difference. Usually you have all these options in the cars, you press the buttons, but you don't really feel anything, and you hope it's doing something. But this one, you can actually feel. The only thing is that I got used to traveling with the Audi so much that I had a lot of space, and I would fill it with all kinds of stuff that I thought I might need. And this time I have stuff filled all on the passenger seat, the footwell, behind the seats, in the footwells, the front trunk, everywhere there's stuff. So I think I really need to learn how to pack properly and take less stuff, because if it was 2 people it would be really difficult, because this car is just enough for me with all the stuff that I travel with. But yeah, a little bit about the 911. Okay, coming out of the roadworks, once I can change the speed. Actually, by the time I said 130, it was 150. This thing is fast, very fast. Good morning and welcome back from Netherlands this time. I don't know if I already did the Netherlands thing, but if I didn't, here it is again. So today is the last day of my road trip. I'm heading back to London, and it's been a great 17 days on the road. Well, with several stops in between, of course. I spent the last 2.5 days in Netherlands with some of my really great friends and had a wonderful time, but now have to get back to London and go back to work. This COVID season has been a bit of a pain because all these places require you to have a COVID test, a negative test, which costs a lot of money unnecessarily, because I had these tests done to go to all these different countries, but when I went into those countries through the border controls, first of all, there were no border controls. Second of all, they didn't check any COVID certificates. So it's just a waste of money. I have had 2 vaccines. I have a certificate that says I have had my doses. So I don't see the point of this stupid PCR or any kind of COVID test. It's just a way of making money, because all these companies are charging through the nose for these tests that they're doing on a mass scale. So it's just companies milking money from it rather than a real benefit. Well, when you talk to the governments, they'll say, oh no, we are protecting the population because one person will come in and spread the disease and blah blah blah. But it would only make a difference if people were actually checking. When I left London, I had the PCR test done to go abroad, and then when I got to the border crossing, and I had the certificate for my vaccine as well, when I showed it to the British, they were like, no, don't worry about it, just give us the passport. Then I went to the French side, I said, do you want to see the certificate? They're like, no, just the passport. So no one bothered. You could just hold a normal piece of paper and say, this is my certificate, and they'll just believe you, because I don't think they care. Everyone is so sick of this. But obviously, I guess the government has to do these things, because if they don't, then people will say, oh, the government's not doing anything and people are dying, blah, blah, blah. But it's the people who are also suffering because of all of this and the costs. But I guess the government is stuck, or all the governments are stuck between a rock and a hard place because of the morons who are the masses. So the trip has been a little more expensive than it should have been because of all these COVID tests that I had to do. I had to go get one done now before entering the UK, and I hope, really hope, that they will at least look at it and make it worth the time and effort and money spent doing this stupid test. Other than that, when you're entering Netherlands, I highly recommend that whichever country you're entering from, you fill your fuel tank there and then use it while you're in the Netherlands, and then when you leave, fill it up in another country, because the fuel is so expensive here. They have a huge tax on cars, and so this car that costs £125,000 in the UK costs 250,000 euros in Netherlands, because they have like 60 or 80,000 euros of tax on it, and it's all in the name of pollution. And similarly, they have high taxes on fuel, so it's their way of making money in the guise of, okay, we're going to save the planet. They're not really saving the planet. Once I see the single-use plastic and polystyrene things disappearing from the world, I will start believing that someone is doing something. And also fishing. Once they put some real restrictions on fishing, I will believe that the government is doing something. Right now, it's all just bullshit. So, off to Calais to catch the Eurotunnel and head off to England. It was warm and sunny in Sweden, and as I've been coming down south, it's been getting colder and colder. Yesterday we were out and I was wearing a jacket because it was quite cold in Netherlands, and even now it's 15 degrees and quite chilly, while I think it says in Calais it's currently 12. God knows, North Pole is warmer than as you're driving towards the equator. But who knows, this global warming is warming the planet in a different way. Maybe we'll have the Arctic and the Antarctic on the equator, and the tropical countries will be the North Pole and South Pole. I don't know, I'm just talking gibberish and nonsense. Just can't think of anything else to say. It's the motorway now. So I will shut up. Ciao.